In the shadowed valleys and mist-shrouded mountains of 15th century Vietnam, a drama of epic proportions unfolded, a tale of cunning, courage, and a legendary gambit that rewrote the fate of a nation. The year was 1427. For nearly a decade, Vietnam had simmered under the iron grip of the Ming Dynasty, its people oppressed, its land scarred by foreign occupation. At the heart of the resistance stood Le Loi, a rebel leader whose name would soon echo through history as the architect of one of the most audacious psychological victories ever seen on the blood-soaked battlefields of ancient war. The odds were staggering. Le Loi commanded a mere 10,000 to 15,000 warriors, hardened by years of guerrilla conflict and bound by a brotherhood forged in fire. Arrayed against them were the Ming invaders, their ranks swelling to a fearsome 200,000. The Ming generals, seasoned in the art of war, believed victory was inevitable. Their armies marched in serried columns, banners snapping in the wind, armor glinting beneath the sun. Yet they were about to encounter a force far more formidable than steel. The mind of Le Loi, sharpened by desperation and guided by centuries-old wisdom. Le Loi knew that brute strength alone could not break the Ming. He turned to the classics of Chinese strategy, the very doctrines revered by his enemies. Among these was the empty fort strategy, a masterstroke of psychological warfare. It was a gamble few would dare, a calculated illusion designed to lure the enemy into overconfidence, to blind them to the peril lurking in the wild Vietnamese heartland. Not with swords, but with shadows, Le Loi would strike. As the Ming armies pressed deeper into Vietnam, Le Loi issued a command that shocked his own followers: abandon the villages, leave the roads deserted, vanish into the mountains. The countryside became eerily quiet. Where once the sounds of life and resistance filled the air, now only silence reigned. Ming scouts swept through empty settlements, their reports fueling a growing sense of triumph. Had the rebels finally broken? Was the land theirs for the taking? But this was no retreat. It was a trap woven with the threads of fear and doubt. The Ming generals, convinced of their dominance, ordered their soldiers forward, deeper and deeper into unfamiliar terrain. Supply lines stretched thin across the rugged landscape. The valleys twisted and narrowed, hemmed in by steep cliffs and dense forests. Every step took the invaders farther from safety, farther from the support of their empire. Only Le Loi's closest commanders knew the truth. The Vietnamese army had not vanished. It lay in wait, hidden among the rocks and trees, every warrior attuned to the pulse of the land. Their discipline was absolute, their resolve unbreakable. While the Ming grew complacent, the rebels prepared their ambush with meticulous care. Every stone and bush became a weapon, every shadow a sentinel. The decisive moment came in Chi Lung Valley. Ming General Lu Sheng, confident in the absence of resistance, led his army into the narrow gorge. The valley seemed peaceful, its silence soothing to battle-weary men. But in war, serenity is often the prelude to horror. Suddenly, the air erupted with the thunder of war cries. Vietnamese warriors surged from their hiding places, unleashing a storm of arrows, spears, and blades. The Ming soldiers, trapped and confused, found themselves hemmed in on all sides. Panic swept through their ranks as Le Loi's forces struck with brutal efficiency, exploiting every advantage the terrain provided. General Lu Sheng, realizing the magnitude of his miscalculation, tried desperately to rally his troops and fight his way out of the killing ground. But the Vietnamese had planned for every contingency. In the chaos of battle, Lu Sheng fell, cut down by the very enemies he had underestimated. His death sent shockwaves through the remaining Ming forces, who scattered in terror through the unforgiving mountains. News of the catastrophe at Chi Lung Valley reached the Second Ming Army like a plague. General Mu Sheng, who had been advancing with equal confidence, suddenly found himself facing an invisible enemy who could materialize from nowhere and vanish like smoke. The psychological impact was devastating. If Lu Sheng's experienced army could be annihilated so completely, what hope did he have? Rather than risk the same fate, Mu Sheng made the unprecedented decision to negotiate. The mighty Ming Dynasty, which had conquered vast territories across Asia, found itself outmaneuvered not by superior numbers or technology, but by a rebel leader who understood that the greatest victories are won in the mind before the first sword is drawn. Le Loi's triumph secured Vietnam's independence and established him as Emperor Le Tai To. But more importantly, it proved that intelligence and cunning could overcome even the most overwhelming odds. The empty fort strategy had turned China's own military wisdom against them, demonstrating that sometimes the most powerful weapon is the enemy's own assumptions. In the mist-shrouded mountains of Vietnam, a small nation had achieved the impossible, making an empire's army disappear not through magic, but through the ancient art of war itself.